Carried, thank you. Righty-ho. On sort of a related almost topic, Craig seeking approval for an increased maintenance business case.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess the good news about this business case is that it's not part of the Crown Council arrangement. This is work that was always going to be 100% funded by Council, and it was part of our Making Space for Water material that went out for consultation through the LTP. So this is really formalising the first 3 years of the LTP, and we are now proposing so the total LTP over the whole period was 135.7 mil, but the request is for the business case for the first 3 years of the LTP, which is $33.25 million for the business case, and then if the business case gets approved, we'll then go through the appropriate procurement processes with the Council Committee early in the new year. So this is across the entire stormwater network, and so what I mean by the entire stormwater network, this relates to inlets, outlets, streams, both private and public, because the new legislation now defines the stormwater network as including both public and private streams, soakholes, manholes, stormwater dams, pipes, culverts, ponds and catch pits. And what we have done is put in place a risk-based prioritisation process across all of our assets, so that when we look to spend $1 on increased maintenance activities, we've got a rational proposition as to why the dollar should be spent here and not there, because there are far more assets than there are monies available to fully maintain all of the assets. So we've got to have a very hard-nosed prioritisation process to support the investment, and that's what's proposed. And I think at this stage, in the interest of moving ahead, I'll just leave it at that and open for questions. Kia ora.
Thank you. Before we do that, does someone like to move?
I'm very happy to move. This is
Thank you, Chris. Seconder. And Richard. Okay, so questions. Well, you've explained it beautifully, Craig. Nothing to do with the time. Richard.
I know you love it when I ask more questions. Craig, the question I have just on the maintenance, you know how we had that problems with Te Awataha and Northcote, just planted all those plants and then nothing. Will that sit slightly different to Healthy Waters within community facilities? You know, that more broader project work that's not necessarily just stormwater focused?
This investment is very much focused on maintaining the capacity of the network. We've got other programs that also look at the wider benefits of a planting program, and so a lot of our local board programs, for example. Now, obviously, where there's an opportunity to stitch those two together, we would take advantage of that opportunity. But this is pretty much what I would call sorting out the plumbing.
Shane?
Thanks, Chair. Just in terms of stream clearance activities, how are we working with private businesses to educate them and make sure they're not cluttering up our streams?
Well, I think the key thing is going to be working with the community and private owners, because the problem is if we can't actually do work in a private waterway, we can't necessarily fix the catchment problem. And so that's the whole idea of taking a risk-based approach, and I think we may have talked about this previously with the council around the concept of treating the airspace above the stream as different to the land that sits beneath it. In other words, the asset that we want isn't the land itself, it's the overland flow path or the water that sits across the land. And so that's the area that we need to preserve for water, and that's the intention, and that way we can actually capitalise any work that's done on private property by effectively buying the air right above the property where the flows will occur in heavy rain events. Kia ora.
Ken?
Thank you. You talked about keeping the capacity. We seem to have dropped, like right across the family group, any talk about increased capacity, building back better, being prepared for increases in volumes?
The intention will be to provide for a network that is designed to cope with effectively what a new design event is going to look like. We're still doing final work on that at the moment, but the new design storm going forward won't be the same as the old design storm. And so any future decisions we make around effectively resizing do need to take into account that the future's changed for what we used to manage historically.
Okay, any further questions? None. Good work. Thank you, Craig. You can step back and wander off to the train. Okay, any discussion on this? No, no debate. Those in favour say aye. And against? Carried.
Have you got a move and second it, mate?
Yeah. It's just not up there.
Aye.
I'm ahead of you, mate. Righty-ho, item 16, status update on action decisions. Thank you, Julie. Seconded Greg. Nice work. Any discussion? All those in favour say aye. And against carried. And summary of the transport and whatever information memoranda. Greg's going to move and Richard's going to second. Any discussion? All those in favour say aye, and against carried. There's no extraordinary business. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time, and on behalf of the little team here, have a happy Christmas.